My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
This is the senior center at the library, and that is 5:31 a.m. This is the second plane, 5:29 a.m. The entity's doing so while it's anticipating me to get up. This is the pest that homosexuals who are suicidal, who are a part of an unsuccessful and widely exposed cult, are engaging in. for no reason at all, other than that they are addicted to stalking me, and they're going to be discharged. They're going to be federally prosecuted, and they will end up being committed based on conduct that doesn't even make sense to them as to why they're still doing it, and everybody knows that they're doing it. This is the entity that's being laughed at while they're stalking in this obvious manner. The entity is costing also the people of the state, the gang stalking commercial airline companies, because that's exactly what they are, while the U.S. military uses them to engage in criminal activity, obvious criminal activity, where the federal court does not even have to question the veracity of what are the allegations of stalking in commercial planes, as unheard of and as psychotic, as unfathomable. It's definitely proven. Okay? And who's doing it with it? The people of the state that are going to federal prison, equally desperate and mentally ill. Okay? Jumping in front of the camera, dancing in front of the camera, the demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct together as one. And that's what this is at 5 in the morning. When you have the military stalking, you have the people of the state that are stalking. This is the P.O.C. They do the same thing going into the bathroom, monitoring genitalia. Sex offenders who are mentally ill. They're demons that are gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. The people of the state engage in the bidding of the government that's engaging in this beast system. And that is the people of the state that are going to prison. They're working in the library gang stalking. They're going into the bathrooms gang stalking. They're on the roads and the highways gang stalking. They're in the grocery store gang stalking. And they're doing so with the entity that is going straight mental institutions. It's P.O.C. And this is while they're engaging in conduct that they already know is very obvious, and the mentally ill repeat it over and over again. There's no landing or rising over here. This is the entity that is embarrassed and mentally ill. And again, where does embarrassment have any placement with regard to being prosecuted as a terrorist? Because you're dealing with what are psychopathic serial killers who take pride in targeting people who are perplexed. There's no perplexed state here. This is an entity that is entirely inferior. They are fools. They are entirely unsophisticated and unintelligent. They've embarrassed themselves while they've engaged in criminal activity that has already been proven, and a conviction has already been secured through social media as I prosecuted them. It's 5:34 in the morning where the entity is stalking. There's no planes that are hovering over here. There's no planes that are even scheduled to take off right now. While you're looking at demons that are embarrassed and so let's do another. That's literally what they do while they're gang stalking. The act is getting the people of the state. The act is getting the demons themselves of the military. They're getting locked up. Period. They're getting locked up, and there will be no acting about being locked up. P.O.C. And that's the stalker that follows to Ontario Village Shopping Center. Delta Airlines that's being federally prosecuted for stalking me in concert with a population who have together conspired my murder, including while Delta Airlines is used as a means of aerial surveillance. 6GET842 is engaging in what is surveillance with Ceres Regis, the building that's covered in engineer light, where they're engaging in that criminal conspiracy, and they are engaging in stalking that the whole world is aware of. And these are the unintelligent that engage in what is executing an unintelligent plan regarding all overtly stalking and then continuously engaging in that stalking in the face of that worldwide exposure, while the federal government plots on how they're going to raid them and lock them down with martial law and have them locked up, because that's literally what Delta Airlines and the people of the state are doing. Wells Fargo is stalking. The city of Ontario is stalking. The Ceres Regis Group, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, and the people of the state are a bunch of demons sitting around stalking and watching in amazement while they're looking at themselves being subject to their own sacrifice. This is the P.O.C. Delta Airlines and every other airline company is being federally prosecuted while the government presents evidence against it. This is license plate. They're being prosecuted as a terrorist. They've been engaged in surveillance. This is entirely criminal, and it's a mentally ill person. License RDER4LF. Stalking at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's being prosecuted. Okay, this is P.O.C. Just want you to see. This is where the entity is stalking with engineer light. This is where the fake sun set last night as well. They're walking in engineer light. This is a demon. Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, where there's no flights that are going to, this is the entity that's mentally ill, and this is what the demon possessed who are dead, this is what they do while they are awaiting their own death. They engage in ongoing stalking. Hi, I'm saying hi to you while I'm embarrassed that I'm getting caught and doing it in front of you because you have the arrogance of the demons that are proud serial killers. And they lost in this battle. They killed themselves. And you're watching them pace around me
While that inevitable demise, and it also includes financially, because Delta Airlines is going to pay me for conspiring my murder and participating in it. And that's exactly what you're being prosecuted as. I'm going to prosecute the company itself. It is a terrorist. That's exactly why the U.S. military is using those planes. And that's exactly the intent behind providing it to the military, which the airport, the people of the state, the population are fully aware of. Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines never anticipated being caught. In the same way, the people of the state that are demons, gang stalking, never anticipated, and that's because you don't know anything. They're demons who have only so much rope, and they've been given enough rope to hang themselves. They have killed their own children. They've killed their own prospects regarding their well-being. They've killed their own mindsets. These are mentally ill, deteriorating psychopaths. That's the P.O.C. That's why you see when you're caught, they're caught. The arrogant psychopath will do it again and again and again. And you're talking about what is costing money and what is no mystery for the military tribunal. Are you guilty? Everybody knows the answer is yes. This is P.O.C. This is not sunlight. And this is where I'm standing in the evening, where you have the gang stalkers that are monitoring, walking in this walkway. The fake sun isn't even in any position to create that. That's not the sun. It's not the sun reflecting off the building, and this isn't sunlight. Those are demons stalking in commercial planes. And Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, Amazon Prime Air, FedEx, UPS, all the demons that are engaging in all the documentation that I've shown you throughout the cities are going to compensate an American citizen for that which has never even been prosecuted before. And this is because they are mentally ill, meaning demon possessed. And these are the casualties of following Satan. You will be humiliated. You always lose. It costs. In this circumstance, it costs your life to follow Satan. You're following him to the pit of hell. And before you do that, you're going to pay me. This is P.O.C. The entities engaging in this conduct while I am leaving the Open Family Community Library, and the obsessed demons are stalking the entire time. Okay? And they're stalking not because there's any sort of competition in engaging in criminal activity. We're going to be prosecuted as terrorists. They're stalking because they are actually mentally ill and are obsessed with the process of stalking me, the one that they cannot overwhelm. They can't inundate me with confusion. They can't touch me with what they're not. That's not spell work. That's admittedly stalking. That's not going to help Delta Airlines in the civil suit against them, which they've already lost on social media. You're totally liable. I'm prosecuting you. And it's for criminal activity. This is not witchcraft. This is an admission. This is the ongoing ability, what I have served and proven, the ability to categorically treat a corrupt community that's engaging in criminal conduct that's a threat to national security, i.e. supporting the basis of martial law. That's what this is. And this is what a population of demons, i.e. mentally ill people who target other American citizens who have a right to not be subject to it, this is what they have reaped on themselves. Okay? Driving around so I can get your license plate, suicidal. Stalking me so I can get the airlines where you're stalking, clearly targeting outside of the operation of any airport, suicidal. Doing so more in video evidence that's going to be published on the internet for the military tribunal and the world to witness, suicidal. Okay, this is the P.O.C. I'm going to prosecute every business. I'm prosecuting all of it because it's gang stalking. P.O.C. It's currently 6:32 a.m. This is Crossing Path in the engineered environment. This is a stalker, suicidal. License plate. It's also a lesbian. License 8UTE349. P.O.C. And this is the prosecution of the population who are the people of the state. This is the absurdity of the entity that is still gang stalking at this level of exposure. They're stalking, walking in front of me. I took a picture of a stalker walking by me. This is the identification of the stalker. You're looking at the pattern. The airport is being shut down and all the airlines are being prosecuted, and so are all of the people. They're in their homes stalking, okay? You're in your home stalking where the environment is conducive to your ongoing corporate invasion of privacy, molesting with that which is not sunlight, in an environment where the sun will not still be present 10 hours later, so that the government telling on you because they're so psychotic and they don't know when they should stop because everybody else is going to serve the consequences. The people that say can be as quiet as they are. The fact that they're stalking is being loudly proclaimed. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. And this is the entity that is indeed stalking as a population, which is an act of terrorism. And you're being prosecuted where you live, as you travel, and where it is that you remain. It's all criminal and it's all state action. This is the P.O.C. And because the entity is still doing it, meaning the people of the state are doing it, while they're flying over your home, you're being prosecuted. Impossible light moves across the venues while you're crossing path, because that's what that is. And you're doing so together, pacing under the fake sign, you're being prosecuted. This is P.O.C. They're demons. They're not ignorantly in a demonic supernatural environment. They're demons who have been caught, and the demons are being prosecuted and subject to martial law, losing privileges to be on the roads and the highways where they commit murder. P.O.C. It is currently 6:44 a.m. Alrighty, that's the military. That's the fake sun. And this is a demon who drove in the parking lot to terrorize me with impossible light and is now pulling out. He literally just went in, parked, opened the door, fixed the sweater, and got back in. He's pacing. This is mental illness. And if he's an employee, he's going to prison. Yeah, he's an employee. 6FGS844. He works for Stater Brothers, and he's engaged in terrorism with impossible light. He's targeting me. He knows exactly who I am, and he's acting in sync with the one that's giving evidence right against him. He and everybody else working inside of Stater Brothers are going to prison. In fact, this is the P.O.C. And what you need to understand that it is a public service that the mentally ill that engage in poisoning you systematically while they maintain FDA warnings every time that they engage in poisoning. They're not ignorant about what they're serving you while they are tampering with your food. That's what's poisoning me while I'm buying it inside of Stater Brothers. This demon drives by and impossible light targeting psychopaths. And you already know what I'm talking about. And this is why I provided the P.O.C. Because when the ordinary, unsophisticated target individual refers to things that they don't even have names for, they are falsely depicted as being mentally ill, which is exactly what Satan intended. It's exactly what Satan intended. While you see them showing how psychotic they are stalking me in planes and helicopters and in dumpster trucks. All right? Doing so while you're stalking in a grocery store. You can't even just bag the groceries you're stalking. You're going to do them a favor. They're getting locked up. Okay, that's P.O.C. He's going to prison. He's an employee, and he's on video monitoring me even inside of the grocery store. All right, this is P.O.C., and this is what he's doing. Impossible light. You see that? P.O.C. They're mentally ill. License plate. You're going to take away its kids. You're going to have them involuntarily committed for stalking with light. 8AIZ382. That's the P.O.C. The government has a population of the mentally ill, the demon-possessed, that is, subservient to the system. It's a system. They are under the fake sun at 7:26 a.m. This is P.O.C. Executed. What are you saying? Keep talking.
Crazy lady right here, taking pictures of everything, my truck, my trash, for no reason, cussing me out. For no reason. That's what happens when you're in the streets.
Okay, that's audible activity under the fake sun. He's in the street stalking. Impossible light is under the truck. This is a demon. This is the audible activity of demons, and I just got his license plate. And also Rivera's Rolling Suds is speaking as well. I'm going to prosecute the business. That's the P.O.C. That's Unity. They're also inside. They're inside, and this is the battery. They're inside monitoring. And El Pollo Loco is also speaking. That's a pattern of conduct. All right, this is activity creation. The military is already stalking over the sky space, and that's Unity that's monitoring. So let me show you that. That's prison. That's Unity, that's gang stalking. El Pollo Loco. P.O.C. Alrighty, and that's while he's stalking. That's stalking right there. Alright, not concerned about doing his job. He was concerned about crossing path over here, stalking me in the parking lot with the military that's flying over by planes and touching with light. El Pollo Loco is going to be prosecuted for that. El Pollo Loco that has a fake sign over it in the middle of the afternoon. Don't forget about that. All right, that's the P.O.C. That's what happens when you're demon-possessed and you're embarrassed because you're being prosecuted for being a gang stalker, which is entirely pathetic. It's not gangster at all. That's why they're embarrassed about it. This is why the demon-possessed do the ignorant thing, such as more of that which is overtly criminal and absurdly weird, in order to engage in what is trying to, which it does not, divert away from the fact that you are engaging in what is recognized as criminal activity as a whole population. There's nothing that a vagina monitor is stating that's going to establish anything other than the P.O.C. Amazon Prime is here, stalking, flying over the El Pollo Loco, and that vagina monitor, that demon, is speaking, this is what you get when you get in the streets. No, this is what you get when you gang stalk somebody who's going to prosecute you. And this is federal prison. That's federal prison. That's supposed to be some sort of reflection of being in the street where the entity stole my property. Tracy Banks belongs in the street. The demons that are homosexual stalk me on planes, that's where they're going to be. If they make it out of prison, they're going to be on the street. That's where he's going to be, and I'm prosecuting this business also that's speaking. All right? That's the pattern of conduct where you can't defame me while you're monitoring my vagina. Because that's what he's doing under the fake sun. All right? And if they're not natural-born citizens, you're deporting them. That's exactly why. You're deporting them out the country. They are indeed enemies, and I get Satan in their pure form. So you see them for exactly what they are. Okay? This is under the fake sun. It is currently 7:38 a.m. The entity's keeping the fake son over me at the Stater Brothers in Fontana, California. And he is... These are the homosexuals that engage in criminal activity to distract themselves from what they really want to do, which is kill themselves. They're suicidal while they're stalking me because they know that they are being disgracefully and dishonorably discharged. 4, I want to be clear, literally slandering and making a disgrace of and shaming the name of the U.S. military around the world, not just here in California where I'm prosecuting them for gang stalking with the likes of vagina monitors, sex offenders, stalkers. All right, and I want to be clear, the feds go home with the gang stalkers, so everybody in the household, any immigrants, they're all being deported. The entity's engaging in what is speaking as the corporate entity, speaking while you're monitoring on the ground. That's El Pollo Loco speaking. El Pollo Loco that you already know is a gang stalker. The fake son is over me while Amazon Prime is here in the afternoon, engaging in the same pattern of conduct. And then you want to bring in the fact that you're in the streets. This is the entity that's engaging in what is distracting away. You can't distract away from anything. All right, and the entity would like that to be the case. I'm outside because the entity is so obsessed with me. That's why I'm outside. And guess what? Me being outside is putting you inside of a federal cell. That's what that's going. This is the entity that's pathetic. That's what's so pathetic. That's why I want you to listen. That's Satan. Satan is getting locked up. That's the U.S. military speaking. Those are demons. It's a cult. That's not the government. They don't have authority, and they're getting locked up. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:39 a.m. All right, that's the pattern of conduct, and that's the entity that runs its mouth and makes me money. P.O.C. Alrighty, here are the demons that are invested in stalking who they know very well as royalty. Now, I want to be clear, when you are engaging in stalking and when you are stalking me to the degree to where you want to touch me with light, you want to touch me in some manner while you're monitoring, of course, you know that those are demons. When you're spending the type of resources that the demon possessed are, that a whole government system, a population of life flunkies, that's what they are. They're engaging in this conduct while they are obsessed, in fact, with the one that they also simultaneously try to speak down on. That's the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. Okay? This is the P.O.C. They're being deported. That's the answer. They're being prosecuted as terrorists. This is the key. The entity is being identified as a mentally ill that engage in both stalking, spending energy and money and time in doing so, while also at the same time trying to document yourself gang stalking me because you're embarrassed that you're caught being obsessed with me. And that's exactly what you just witnessed right now. And that was the whole entity. That was Satan himself. Those are the demons in the planes that spend millions of dollars on stalking me, but at the same time would like the reality to be that I'm merely on the street. Oh, you wish that that was the case. That's why you're spending millions of dollars. That's why you're monitoring my vagina, where you think magic is stored for you to try to transform your sick mind. I don't think so. But you will be subject to martial law, though, because that's exactly what is necessary. This is the entity that is obsessively stalking by any means. And you know that because the fake son is here after 4 p.m. where the entity is stalking me by planes and helicopters. That is what you're going to prosecute also corporately. Okay? Just engaging in what is behaving like you don't have any manners when you are caught in the wrong, that's not going to help you in court. I'm going to prosecute you for every rude syllable that comes out of your face because you will watch your mouth after being caught engaging in what is unfathomable because demons don't want you to know that they worship me. They do. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:18 a.m. Alrighty, this is clearly Southwest with their co-defendant, the people. Looking to the left, I don't know anything. I'm not stalking. Fake son is over. 9GTM 817, where I'm gone to another location. Robert J. Spitz is a gang stalking attorney. That unconstitutional, unlawful oxymoron is the evidence that you are unfit to practice law. The fake son is over me. I'm subject to terrorism, even outside of your law office. You will be losing your California bar license. It is a criminal act while I'm subject to it. And you are indeed engaging the P.O.C. and this entity literally just flew. You need to understand the way in which they're reaching to even be over here. I'm on the opposite side. I just documented the population, but the parking lot area, the Ontario Village Shopping Center. This street where I'm on at 4 and 5 in the evening. And a psychopath looks the opposite direction, and that's supposed to make you think they're not gang stalking. That's why they're getting martial law. All right, this is the fake son, and Southwest Airlines is flying over the Ontario Plaza Apartments, where the Ontario police are also gang stalking me as a matter of evidence. Doing so en route to the same Ontario Village Shopping Center that has been documented for a term of years regarding what will be a prosecution of a commercial means of stalking, surveillance, harassment, kidnapping, criminal summoning, all that. That's, again, that level of evidence is going to result in what is being shut down.
All right, this entity, I want to be clear. Oh, you're talking about immigrants. You're talking about recipients of government assistance. They're losing all of it, and they're being deported. While the government flies over your apartment building, be prepared to be outside on the street. You're not getting any government assistance. While the entity is stalking me by planes and helicopters by flying what is northwest over Ontario Plaza Shopping Center, that's evidence regarding obsession. And that entity is the one that's talking about while you're on the streets, as I'm on the street documenting you obsessing over me and stalking me. That same audible activity is going to be used to diagnose and assess regarding what is necessary. Involuntarily committing psychopaths who engage in acts of violence while they are delusional regarding criminal activity that they engage in against other people, including under company names such as Omnitrans. P.O.C. This is the entity stalking as I'm moving about. So now the fake sun. This is Vesta in San Antonio, right? This is the entity that is maintaining along what is San Antonio as opposed to what is Euclid Avenue. Crossing path is stalking on the roads and the highways. They're engaging. You're losing your license. You're not going to be driving, and that's not a suspension. They will not be on the roads and the highways. They're terrorists that are obsessively stalking. Obsessively. Okay? And this is the entity that's engaging in that. That's the entity that chases me down because they are so maniacal and so obsessed and frustrated because I have already shown that you are not only, by virtue of what you're doing, you are suicidal. By virtue of what you're doing, you're psychopathic. That's exceedingly antisocial conduct, contrary to what the entity wants to be viewed as, because they're in the military, they're in law enforcement, they are amongst the community engaging in this criminal activity. But none of those illusions are persuasive. They are stalking. And you lock that entity down. How do you do so? Martial law. No airport. No driving privileges. All right, you're talking about prosecution with regard to a whole entity. And this entity is then stalking me, following me into another city. Okay, that's the entity that's obsession. You understand that these are dead people. And the dead people that have been ran by demons, now those demons are embarrassing them because they're going to continue like robots. Even while the people who are being controlled by those demons are suffering consequences for it. They can't hide it anymore. That's P.O.C. You're going to permanently land those that are flying these planes and helicopters. They're being permanently landed. They kill people and they want you to think it's an accident. It's not. It's a P.O.C. What was an accident? What you shouldn't have done was target me, the one that's telling all your secrets. And not only that, I'm going to weaponize your secrets and have you locked down like you should be. This is a psychopath that's pacing. It's very sad. They belong in the institutions where they kidnap American citizens. And that's where they're going. This is psychopathic pacing. And this is what they were doing in the parking lot and molesting me with light. Psychopathic pacing because they're hostile. Everything I'm putting on the XP. Psychopathic pacing. One demon after another touching me with light. And you're doing so while you want to talk in a derogatory manner about somebody that's quote unquote in the streets when it's your mother that's in the streets. Your mother's a streetwalker. Okay, that's what's wrong with you. And you're hostile because you're out here stalking me while your wife, your girlfriend, your gay lover, your daughter, whoever it is that wants to be me could never be me, and stalking and monitoring me is not going to get, it's going to get you locked up. P.O.C. It is currently 8:51 a.m. where Robert J. Spitz's law office. This is the entity, a body of evidence showing you gang stalking that's not any exception outside of those that have a California bar license. In fact, they are the way in which this system is operating in corrupt courts. That's why I'm being gang stalked outside of the walls and doors of a law office, and it's unreasonable to contend that you're not being targeted on the inside of that venue. And it's not based on the hours. It's the identification of public corruption. And it includes gang stalking attorneys. I've already prosecuted them. They engaged in kidnapping me, and they need to be prepared to lose their license and lose their freedom because you're going to prison. All right, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 8:52 a.m. where vagina monitors follow me obsessively. All right, they spend time and energy on stalking me. I'm everything to them. They don't even have family or anything concerning. They don't have a purpose of existence. I am their purpose. I'm the one that they're sitting around obsessing over. And that's the reality. And the entity is stalking me in helicopters because they're hostile. They are enraged that you know that as the truth. While they thought that lying on someone like myself was ever going to be successful, that's because they're demons. They don't know anything. They're demons. P.O.C. All right, this is license plate. I just want you to see him stalking and molesting with impossible light. This is Upland, California, 9S. Hold on, let me get in. This is P.O.C. Doing the same thing over and over again. 9BSK030. These are terrorists on the roads and the highways who are losing driving privileges while they engage in terrorism on the roads, stalking under the fake sun. 39558 Henry 4. And the psychopathic pacing, this is exactly what they were doing at Stater Brothers while the military were flying over the parking lot. And then these psychopaths, these vagina monitors, have the audacity to try to talk down on you when you are stalking me, worshiping my vagina. License 7YUA321, a family of lesbians. License 78476U1. Okay, and the gang stalker who is married to the lesbian, who procreates and creates another lesbian, who both worship me, and what is speaking derogatory about me in a derogatory manner does not change the facts, and you're going to be committed with that. That's audible activity while a demon uses a dog, gang stalking. 9FDJ438. These are demons engaging in mentally ill behavior, and they're stalking with the demons inside of their house. 222 North San Antonio Avenue. Being molested with that which is impossible light activity under a fake sun where the mentally ill are on the roads and the highways, looking straight like they're focused. You see that fake sun? He's not. He's stalking. License plate. EPO4B93, they're all losing the state of California on the roads and the highways, engaging in murder and stalking. License 6XLW935, 56990C3, this is mentally ill behavior. 9YWB915, 9RGC697, 5WKX671, and they do so because they're obsessed with me. These are peasants. These are all peasants. And they're engaging in what is stalking, meaning worshiping one, that they are hostile because you know that they are peasants who are stalking. 7 Zebra Edward 291. And you know where they're going? They're going to sit inside of a library where this fake sun sits over it until sunset. Okay? That's the entity. And you know who else is on the roads and the highways gang stalking? Peasants who call themselves the Upland Police Department. Peasants who call themselves the California Highway Patrol, who are on this same street gang stalking. Okay? This is the whole satanic entity that's engaging in a very unintelligent system, and you can't hide inside of the venue where you live. You can't hide on the roads and the highways, and you certainly aren't hiding anything while it's out in the open and you're stalking me with things such as impossible light activity. What, pray tell, is the entity doing other than documenting and the suicidal demons that engage in what is crossing path, as you refer to them, Upland Police? They like to gang stalk with the pet department as well. That's the same entity that here's the one that they're stalking, refer to them, and they cross path. The Upland Police are being disbanded. They're pathetic. Those are peasants that do that. License S382 Edward 0, stalking. License 9XPK032, stalking. These people, these are demons. They're dogs. They don't have families. They're out here engaging in surveillance that you're no longer ignorant about. All right? This is the P.O.C. They're going to be under martial law. And there's no exception to that. It's for the protection of everybody else that is not a dog. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is criminal summoning. All right, so the people of the state are the ones that are getting locked up, going to prison. So this is just so that you know the significance of every license plate I just documented. Marcelo Blanco is being prosecuted for the pattern of conduct. This is 8th Street in Euclid, where you know my video that I captured yesterday after 7 p.m. The fake sun is 0.3 miles at the same location 10 hours from now. Upland Police are targeting while they're being documented, and I'm documenting criminal activity with that agency who is stalking in the path on the sidewalk under the fake sun at what is 9:59 in the morning. The people that say are being prosecuted. You'll see the license plates. I'm going to upload it onto the X, which is nothing other than a convenient means of you very clearly seeing the identification of terrorists who are going to be prosecuted with the agency that's engaging in surveillance. It is Upland Police. They are being disbanded for the criminal activity that they are facilitating, sharing in with the people of the state. And they are sitting in the library that keeps this fake sun over it until the end of the day, like I documented at 7 p.m. yesterday. The people of the state are going to prison for this. And that's what I'm documenting. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. with knowledge and intention at the facilitating venue of what is 8th Street and Euclid, where the ARCO is. Okay, I'm prosecuting ARCO. I'm prosecuting the people of the state in their homes. I'm prosecuting the demons that are being prosecuted on the roads and the highways. They're losing their driving privileges. This is the basis of martial law, and this is the entity that's prosecuting itself. I just want to be clear because this video is going to accompany all the license plates, speaking to the entity that's being prosecuted for stalking with a police department, which is an act of terrorism. This is P.O.C. This is the prosecution of the people of the state who are domestic terrorists. It's currently 10 a.m. All right, I just want to show this is what the entity was doing with the people of the state, the homeless that are stalking with the military at the Methodist Church. I took images of that, stalking under the fake sun. They were literally feeding the food while engineer light was aimed inside of that fake church. And I'm surrounded by the homeless that are gang stalking me everywhere else, including inside of that fake church with the U.S. military. That is the entity that is threatening my life, my safety, my well-being. And while doing so, inside of what are those venues that do not differ, it's just merely has the word church on the outside of it. The U.S. military is equally engaging in criminal activity with those of that Methodist Church, just like equally with those of Rock of Faith, just like those of Bethel Congregation. This is the entity that conduct. This the crime scene. This is not sunlight. This is where the fake sun rises. The sun would not be in any position 12 hours later to be aiming any sunlight on the same address. And moreover, this is the entity that is stalking me, including at every place, in every bathroom, even to every fake church. Okay, and that's why I put that adjective fake before it, because if there was a genuine church, I would not be subject to the same pattern of conduct. I would not be being gang stalked. And they are fake because they're demons that are gang stalking me, while they have this engineered light on the inside, and they are by definition pacing as the demon possessed are monitoring. Okay, this is the entity that's doing so while I'm at that venue, and the entity is stalking me by helicopter. So you know what they're doing on the inside, and you can literally see it in the images. I'm capturing this video because the entity is being federally prosecuted, and I am prosecuting that fake church while I'm subject to the pattern of coming right back to the Ontario Civic Center, because this is exactly what they were doing. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:26 p.m.
It is currently 10:10 p.m. That is the military. These are military rejects. These are to be dishonorably and disgracefully discharged, and that is a matter of public information, including throughout the course of this public investigation, while those that are not, in fact, representative of the United States and the United States military and the legitimate operations of the military, who are engaged in terrorism, engaged in Satanism, engaged in public corruption, engaged in things such as sex trafficking and pedophilia, engaged in fraud, engaged in stalking in the most psychotic ways that are embarrassing. While it has been associated with the military, this is the entity that's engaging in stalking in helicopters and in planes, like you can hear at what is 10:11 p.m., where no such plane activity is going to occur, were the Ontario International Airport not gang stalking with the United States government. And that is, by virtue of that evidence, conclusive. It's a judicially noticed fact. The Ontario International Airport is being shut down, and the U.S. military are going to be federally prosecuted as domestic terrorists for stalking me in helicopters, not merely engaging in what is harassment. This is an entity that's acting with the U.S. military, who are absurdly psychotic, stalking with light, as you have witnessed and as I describe. The entity is subject to what is inevitable with regard to not only criminal convictions for what is terrorism and what is also treason, while those outside of the United States are invested financially and are in a position to incentivize terrorism by these rejects of the military who do not represent the United States government. And as an American citizen, I am engaging in what is an obligation that we all share, which is to expose and also enforce your rights against that. And that is not through violence, it's not through anarchy, it's not through violating the law either. Even though the government makes that sometimes impossible to do, okay? And this is also why not everyone is called to that role. And I also understand that. But you have majority that are merely conforming. And that's what the problem is here. And it is evil. And Satan is thriving and relying upon conformity, relying upon bullying those that will acquiesce under pressure. The entities engaging in this conduct, and they are stalking me by planes and helicopters while I am being an American citizen, literally just minding my business. And the reason why is because these are, in fact, demons. The entity that is stalking me in this manner is testifying to you regarding the reality of Christ Jesus, and thus his children, those who belong to him, who are royalty, called to serve him, which is something that the government is very much concerned about. So concerned that they budget out of the United States Treasury. It's a matter of what is an operation of the government to keep us under surveillance in order to engage in what is terrorizing us, stealing from us, killing us, misleading us, and misleading all of the rest of you, in order that you would have an affect on those, and even in your lives as well, because Satan wants your soul as well. But this is a testimony regarding Christ Jesus, contrary to what this world wants to tell you, that there's so many different paths to heaven, and there are so many gods, and that you're closed-minded and you're ignorant, all right? And you're weak if you believe that this Jesus is who he says he is. Well, if that were the case, what is the big deal? Why have the demons targeted someone who, on the surface, I'm just like the demon that's obsessed with my vagina stated this morning on the streets, end quote. If that's the case, why are you stalking me? Why are you investing millions in stalking me? Why are you choosing to stalk me out of everyone also in the first place? It's more than just money. You stole everything I have. I'm sleeping outside. Why are you still stalking? Why are you so concerned? What is it that you're scared about when you start flying in circles over my head? This is a testimony to Christ Jesus. They're not going to openly, overtly speak to the power and to the glory of who Christ is. They're going to target in this manner. They're going to engage in persecution. They're going to misrepresent and lie on his name and his character. That's how they will testify to the power and to the knowledge of his deity. His name is Christ Jesus. And those who belong to him are being targeted, just like this. This is the P.O.C. The entities engaged in this at the Ovid Family Community Library, while I am currently in the process of publishing the podcast. And this is the complete conviction that has been accomplished via social media of the United States government that's engaged in unequivocal terrorism in concert with the people of the state. And this is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:15 p.m.